Hello friends, this is Jim Das Selvas who will present a new battle that is much more than an engagement between opposing forces. This scenario is simply a classic, a titanic fight fought only by armored fighting vehicles that takes place in a minimalist desert setting, with its unrestricted and infinite line of sight. The Blazing Chariots scenario was originally released in 1988 alongside the West of Alamein pack, which brought the desert theater of operations into the advanced squad leader universe. This scenario was re-released within the updated edition, 3rd edition 2021, of the Hollow Legions pack. It is characterized by being one of those rare occasions within the ASL system whose only protagonists are armored fighting vehicles, more specifically tanks. We will not have interference from infantry units, artillery, air support or snipers, allowing a deep dive into the mechanisms of fighting between armored vehicles. But, for anyone who thinks that this limits this battle just to a game of movement, shots with the outcome determined by the dice roll are deeply mistaken. This battle must be fought through determinants caused by the characteristics of the participating forces such as number, caliber and quality of the main armaments of the units involved, environmental factors, especially sun blindness which we will describe later, armor, crew survival number, victory conditions among others. Prelude. 8 kilometers northeast of Gabarsale, Libya, 19th November 1941. At dawn on the second day of Operation Crusader, the British 8th Army's massive offensive to break the siege of Tobruk, no fighting had taken place. The British achieved complete tactical surprise, as Rommel believed that only a reconnaissance in force was taking place. That morning the 7th Armored Division, which had reached the vicinity of Gabarsale, about 60 kilometers southwest of Bardia, sent its 3 armored divisions in different directions, with the 4th Armored Brigade advancing in a northeasterly direction contacting a German reconnaissance unit. The Afrika Korps finally reacts and quickly deploys several units from the 21st Panzer Division to form Kampfgruppe Stefan, which is sent to investigate British tank activity. The Kampfgruppe did not locate the first 2 regiments of the 4th Brigade, but at dusk it found the last regiment of the 4th Brigade, the 8th Hussars, alone in the desert and immediately engaged the British. The outnumbered Hussars desperately cried out for support, bringing the other 2 regiments of the brigade moving in a southwesterly direction back to Gabarsale. Just one unit, the 5th Royal Tank Regiment, arrived at dusk and immediately counterattacked the enemy, and it is precisely this moment that the scenario will portray. Consequence: the 5th Royal Tank Regiment's counterattack was hampered by the setting sun, which made it difficult to identify targets and judge the positioning of shots. As a result, the regiment suffered a large number of casualties without inflicting comparable damage on enemy units. The attack was successful in calling into question the actions of Kampfgruppe Stefan, which relieved the enormous pressure on the 8th Hussars. When nightfall halted the battle, the British regiments disengaged and, in accordance with standard procedure, withdrew to their night camp, leaving the battlefield in possession of the enemy, who managed to rescue most of the tanks shot down in combat. As a consequence, the British lost around 40 Stuarts, while the Germans lost only 2 Panzer III and 1 Panzer II. For the 4th Armored Brigade, under whose supervision the Stuart tanks did the inaugural battle, Operation Crusader got off to an inauspicious start. The map. The scenario map will consist of 3 maps, 26, 27 and 28, with the largest axis aligned in an east-west direction, with the German units positioning themselves within the limits determined by columns X, Y and Z, with the restriction of least 2 units located in full hexes per map. British units will enter the scenario in the first turn through the eastern end with at least 3 units per map. The line of sight is unlimited across the entire length of the terrain, the only features of which are the presence of hexes with bushes, which is not an obstacle or obscuring element of the line of sight and does not negate the first fire against movement in the open terrain, FFMO, or interdiction. The cost to transition terrain with scrubs is 2 movement points per hex. Another element found in the desert are Hammada hexes, which for the purposes of this scenario behave exactly like scrub hexes. Winning conditions. If the Germans do not collect 55 or fewer victory points in the desert, which we will detail later, the British will win immediately if they collect at least 40 victory points in the desert or at the end of the game if they collect more victory points than the enemy. Desert victory points. The victory points are marked on the scenario card with the values of 5 victory points for each Stuart tank destroyed, 6 victory points, hereinafter referred to as DVP, for each Panzer IIIH or Panzer IVE destroyed, 5 points for each Panzer IIIG destroyed and 4 DVP for each Panzer IIF destroyed. Within these DVP is embedded the value of 2 relating to the vehicle crew. If the crew survives the destruction of the vehicle, this value of 2 will be deducted from the DVP earned for the destruction of the vehicle. In the case of the Stuarts, if the crew survives its eventual destruction, the value gained by the Germans will be only 3. Order of battle. British will rely on American tanks Stuart IA. These were the designations given to the US M3 and M3A1 light tanks. Although officially named Stuarts, all light tanks of the M3, M5A1 series were commonly called Hunnies due to their impressive reliability and handling characteristics. Stuarts became the first US-built tanks to see action in WW2 when they took part in Operation Crusader. In that battle they fully equipped the 7th Armoured Division's 4th Armoured Brigade and were used as cruiser tanks. Thereafter in North Africa their numbers diminished, as the increasing armor thickness and gun size of German tanks outpaced the Stuarts' development potential. The Stuart tanks had a reasonable cannon for this period of the Second World War, which despite its limited caliber of 37 mm, had a very long barrel, LL, which allowed its projectiles to reach great speed, with a penetration equivalent to the 50 mm cannon that equipped a good number of German tanks at the time, to kill number of 11. The rate of fire is 1, lower than that of German tanks. This tank has a frontal armor value of 4 for the turret and hull, and 3 for the side and rear aspect of the hull and 4 for these aspects of the turret. We will also have a machine gun in the hull with 2 firepower, a coaxial machine gun with 4 firepower and an anti-aircraft gun with 2 firepower. To use this last resource the crew needs to be exposed, crew exposed, C. A smoke exhaustion number of 5, SD5, and a crew survival number of 4, CAs4. A negative point of this tank is that the number to hit is measured with the red numbers on the to hit table. The Germans will have a set of tanks with varying specifications. The highlight is the armor of the PZ-3H tanks, with 2 units in this scenario, with frontal armor of 6 for the hull and 4 for the turret. The armor for the side and rear aspect is 3 for the hull and 4 for the turret. Complementing the set, We have a 50mm cannon with a number to kill of 11 and a rate of fire of 2, a hull and coaxial machine gun, 3 and 5 firepower respectively. These units rely on high-penetration APCR ammunition with a depletion number of 5 in 1942, a smoke exhaustion number of 7, and a crew survivability of 6, all the latter superior to British tanks. The DVP of these vehicles is 6. Next, we will have 3 units of the PZ-3G version with a configuration equivalent to the 3H version with the exception of smaller armor on the frontal aspect, 3 for the hull, 4 for the turret, and not having APCR ammunition. The 2 PZ-4E units contain shielding equivalent to the 3H version. These tanks have a 75mm cannon with a rate of fire of 1, and hull and coaxial machine guns in the turret with 3 and 5 firepower respectively. Despite the good caliber of their cannon, these tanks only have a limited number of armor-piercing ammunition whose depletion number is 7. After the exhaustion of this type of ammunition, HE ammunition remains and a low number to kill, only 6, that will hardly affect the British machines apart from a rare and occasional critical hit, double 1 when rolling the dice to measure the hit number. The depletion number for smoke is 7 and the crew survival number is 6. Finishing off the tanks, we will have 2 Panzer IIF units with weak armor, 3 for the frontal aspect of the hull and 4 for the turret, and 1 for the side and rear aspects. The cannon is a laughable 20mm with a kill number of 6, which breaks with the result of 11 or 12 on the dice. To rate of fire, infantry fire equivalent of 4 with little use in this scenario and a coaxial machine gun with 5 firepower. A smoke exhaustion number of 7 and a crew survival number of 3. The Germans will have 8-1 and 9-1 armored leaders. Special scenario rules. Environmental condition: moist. Late afternoon sun blindness, Rule F11.612, in effect, and here we open a parenthesis to address this rule. Due to the vastness of the desert horizon, forces that attack at dawn, towards the east, and at dusk, towards the west, are hampered in their vision by the sun's glare, which makes it difficult to locate and hit any targets. The ASL system models this factor through solar blindness, which adds +2 to the number to hit of units that suffer from this effect. During this battle we will use graphic elements to find out which units will be affected by this effect. Board sighting, hexes with predetermined fire position, is not available. The positioning of units will be carried out simultaneously without the opponent's knowledge, with no impact on this game. Stuart 3 as counters will represent 1 as tanks, also with no effect in this scenario. The crews that survive the destruction of the tanks and remain unbroken will be able to leave the scenario through the friendly area of the scenario, Rule A20.53, and will not be counted as casualties. This scenario will have 6 rounds, and the British will start the match. Very well, with the information available we will be able to start this battle between tanks, beginning our adventure in the desert theater of operations, and we will end this episode at this point. Thanks for watching. Namaste. There are several possible strategies in this scenario, considering the order of battle. Jim came up with 3 strategies. The first would be a mad dash through the desert using all possible movement factors, leaving one last point of movement to stop the Stuarts so they could attack the Germans in the advancing fire phase, eliminating the C4 modifier, which greatly increases the possibility of not hitting the Germans' enemy tanks. This strategy will allow attacks on German targets outside the solar blindness range. With the attack in the advancing fire phase, the Stuarts will be able to place the -1 acquisition marker on enemy tanks, a fact that will greatly assist in the attack against the Germans in the next turn defensive fire phase. The point against this strategy is to expose the British tanks to attack by the Germans with only the attack of +2 due to the fact that the Stuarts are moving targets and the German tanks will be with exposed crews, eliminating the +1 modifier for this condition. The Stuarts will not take much advantage of the exposure of the German crews as they are beyond the range of the bow machine gun, 8 hexes, and as they will be with the crew buttoned up, they will not be able to use an anti-aircraft machine gun, attacking with just a coaxial machine gun with 4 firepower +2 for tank protection, +2 for solar blindness with low probability of damage to German crews. The second strategy will be to perform the same attacking run with the difference of exhausting all movement points towards the enemy, finishing this phase in motion, only spending 1 movement point for the liberal use of smoke. If the smoke cannot be deposited, this movement point will not be computed. This strategy will be important for the Germans to use the same +2 modifier, moving target, to hit the British tanks associated with a possible smoke protection modifier. The great advantage of this strategy will occur during the German prep fire phase, in which British tanks will be in motion, being considered a moving target, with the +2 protection modifier that this situation guarantees. Additionally, the tanks will start the second turn in motion, and will be able to utilize the movement point that would be needed to start their tanks and be able to swarm the German tanks by attacking the side and rear aspects of the enemies at close range with appropriated modifier. At this point, the Germans will certainly become buttoned up to protect the firepower of the Stuart machine guns, thereby adding the +1 modifier to hit the British. The third alternative will involve engaging the Germans in parity of conditions from 25 hexes away, counting on the advantage in numbers and the possibility of the multiple hit effect, Rule C3.8, to be discussed if this effect occurs during the scenario. In this video we will develop the first round, British and German phases, in each of these strategies and, from there, choose the strategy with the greatest operational success to continue the battle. Let's go. Movement phase British turn 1. Stuart moves using 16 movement points to P4, where he suffers an attack from Z0 10 hexes away with the basic number to hit of 9. +2 because the target is considered a moving target, -1 by the armored leader, requiring 8 or less to hit Stuart. Double 1, critical hit. The attack will be carried out with double the to-kill number, hitting the Stuart's hull with 22-3, which destroys the British tank, and the -1 acquisition marker remains on the wreckage in the hex attack with an excellent start to the battle for the Germans. The tank maintains the rate of fire. Dice are rolled to assess whether the tank crew survived the attack. 2, and the British crew survives. The German tank makes a shot with the coaxial machine gun with 4 firepower. 8 is a failure. Panzer II in Hex Z3 fires equivalent infantry fire of 4 firepower associated with 4 firepower from the coaxial machine gun for a total of 8 firepower without modifiers. 6. 1 morale check. 12 plus 1, 13, and the British crew suffers a casualty reduction and their morale is broken. Stuart moves to Q6 using 16 movement points plus 1 to stop the vehicle. In this hex it is shot by the German tank in Z9 8 hexes away, requiring a basic number of 9 to hit the target, plus 2 because the target is a moving target. 7 plus 2, 9, white over the reed hit in the head. The turret is hit in its frontal aspect and the tank loses rate of fire. The to-kill number is 11, minus 4 of Stuart's armor factor is 7. The dice roll needs to be 8 or less to affect the British tank. The possibilities are: result of 8, possible shock. Result of 7, shock. The crew becomes buttoned up and the tank does not move until the next rally phase. Result of 6 or less, the tank is destroyed. 6, and Stuart bites the dust. With a result of 10, the British crew does not survive. Third, Stuart moves using 13 movement points until he suffers an attack from the German tank in Z8 which takes advantage of the rate of fire maintenance and fires from 13 hexes away, requiring 8 plus 2, moving target, to hit the target. The -1 acquisition marker is moved to Stuart. 8 plus 2, 10, is a miss and the tank loses rate of fire. Stuart can continue his movement until Q7 where he spends the last movement point to stop. New movement until Q5 seizing movement there without being bothered by German tanks. Fifth, Stuart moves to I-12 where he is attacked by the German tank in Z3 17 hexes away, requiring a basic number of 8 to hit, plus 2, moving target. 4 plus 2, 6, die-colored 1, the target is hit in the turret and the tank maintains the rate of fire. To kill 11 minus 4, armor factor, is 7, and it will take 8 or less to affect Stuart. 6. The Stuart is destroyed. 11 and the crew does not survive the attack. 6th, Stuart goes to fight and moves to J1 spending 10 movement points and suffers an attack from the tank in Z3 16 hexes away, with a basic number to hit the target of 8 plus 2, moving target. The least one acquisition target is deposited on the wholesale Stuart. Seven plus 2, 9, Stuart is not hit, and Panzer loses rate of fire. The Panzer IV-E fires a shot with HE ammunition, with a low possibility of affecting the British tank, as the to-kill of the HE ammunition is only 6, requiring a result of 3 or less to affect the target. But this shot will serve to get the acquisition on the British tank. Basic number to hit the target 14 hexes away, plus 2 because the target is a moving target. 7 plus 2, 9, the target is not hit, and the tank loses the rate of fire. Stuart proceeds to Q3 carrying the acquisition markers, where he spends the last movement point to stop. 7th Stuart on the move moves to Q2 without being bothered by enemy attacks. 8th Stuart moves to Q10 without interference. The Panzer II makes a successful attempt to launch a defensive smoke munition into its own hex. The German Panzer in Z0 will fire on this last Stuart. To carry out this shot from 14 hexes away, the German tank turns its turret towards the Stuart, adding the modifier +1 for this turn, +2 for the target being a moving target, -1 for the German armored leader, with the number basic to achieve 8 plus 2. 6 plus 2, 8. The British tank is hit in the hull, colored die greater than the white die, with the tank losing rate of fire. With the to-kill number of 11-4, armored factor, requiring at least 8 to affect Stuart. And another Stuart go away. 4 and the British crew survives the attack. Attack on the British crew by the tank's coaxial machine gun at Z0, Z3 and Z5 with 4 firepower, which causes the British crew to become pinned. 9th Stuart moves to Q5 without interference. 10th tank until Q4 without any problems. 11th Stuart moves and suffers an attack in K3 from the Panzer in Z5 15 hexes away, requiring a base number of 6 to hit, +2, moving target. 8 plus 2, 10, the target is not hit, and the tank loses the rate of fire. Stuart moves to Q6 where he ends the movement. The 12th Stuart spends 9 movement points until he suffers an attack from the Panzer IVe in 26Z1, with HE ammunition 17 hexes away with a to hit number of 8 plus 2. 8 plus 2, 10, the target is not hit, and the Panzer loses the rate of fire, with the -1 acquisition marker deposited on the tank. Stuart moves to 28 Q3, ending the movement. Panzer II in 28Z3 makes a successful attempt to launch a smoke turn into its hex. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. British units will finally be able to carry out their attacks. Stuart in 26Q7 will carry out an attack on Panzer III in Hex 27Z0. This attack will take place 11 hexes away, with a base number of 8 to hit the target, with modifiers for the attack of +2 for advancing fire, +2 for Stuart being slow turret, +2 for changing cover arc with 1 spin, +1 by the crew being buttoned. The chance of hitting the target is null, +7 modifier, but it will be enough to place a -1 acquisition marker on the target that will be used in the defensive fire phase of the next turn, if the cannon doesn't break, with the result of 12 in the die. 8 plus 11, 19, the target is not hit and the cannon loses its rate of fire. Stuarts can fire their coaxial machine guns at exposed Panzer crews within 12 hexes, with 2 firepower, advancing fire, +2 for tank armor protection. In summary, in this phase the 9 remaining Stuarts fire their respective shots from the machine guns and main armaments without affecting the German tanks or crews. The -1 acquisition markers are deposited and they did not suffer any damage to their armaments. Rout phase. The unit with broken morale moves 1 hex in low crawl. There are no new events, and we go to the rally phase of the German phase of the first turn. Rally phase German turn 1. The British unit with broken morale will attempt an auto-rally with modifiers +1 for the auto-rally +4 for the DN marker. 7. And the unit does not recover morale. Prep fire phase. Smoke markers deposited by the Germans in the last phase are reverted to the dispersed +2 phase. Shot from Z9 over Q5 9 hexes away with a base number to hit of 9 with no modifiers. 7. The target is hit in the turret and the tank maintains the rate of fire. If the result of the dice is 8, a possible shock will occur. If it is 7, it will be shocked. If it is 6 or less, Stuart will be destroyed. 11. It's a miss. New shot requiring 9 to hit -1 by the acquisition marker. 7. The target is hit in the hull. The to-kill number is 7, 11 -4. If the result of the dice is 8, a possible shock will occur. If it is 7, Stuart will be immobilized, and if it is less than 6, Stuart will be destroyed. 9. Again without effect. Tank at 26Z0 fires on Stuart at 2607 from 11 hexes away, taking 9 to hit, +1 for turning the turret towards the target, -1 for the acquisition marker, -1 for the leader. 10-1, 9. The tank is hit in the hull, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. 11, critical hit that doubles the cut, from 11 to 22, destroying Stuart. 6 and the crew does not survive. Fire from Panzer IVe on Stuart in 28Q10 at 9 hexes requiring 9 to hit, no modifiers. The German commander will attempt to use his armor-piercing ammunition, which has a depletion number of 7. 7. The tank is hit in the turret, and the armor-piercing ammunition is exhausted. The to-kill of the 75mm cannon using armor-piercing ammunition is 14-4 of the Stuart's armor with the modified to-kill number of 10. 8. The Stuart is destroyed. 6 and the crew does not survive. Panzer fire in 28Z3 on Stuart in 28Q5 from 9 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit with no modifiers. 9. The target is hit in the hull, and the tank loses rate of fire. Modified to kill is 7. 7 and Stuart is immobilized. The tank now fires its coaxial machine gun at the crew at 28P4 with 4 firepower plus 1 for the presence of a tank in the firing path. 4 is 1 morale check. 4. The crew passes. Panzer at 28Z0 fires on Stuart at 28Q4, 8 hexes away, needing 9 to hit -1 for the leader. Three. Stuart is hit in hull and Panzer maintains rate of fire. 3 and another Stuart goes up in the air. The crew does not survive. Taking advantage of the rate of fire, the same Panzer fires on Stuart in 28Q3, needing 9 to hit -1 for the leader. 6. The hull is hit, and the tank loses rate of fire. To kill modified from 7. 9 is a miss. Movement phase. Panzer IVe moves to 27M4, spending 1 movement point to start and 13 to hit 27M4 and ends its movement in motion. Panzer II moves to 27M1, ending its movement in motion. Panzer IIIH moves to 27Q6. In this hex it suffers an attack from Stuart in 28Q3, who turns its turret towards the German tank 7 hexes away, requiring 7 to die with the modifiers +1 for the buttoned up, +2 for the spin, slow turret, +2 because the German tank is a moving target. 10. It is a miss and the German tank continues to 27P6, where it turns the vehicle cover arc towards Stuart, using the last movement point to stop. All German tanks become buttoned up to protect themselves from British machine gun fire. Panzer II in 26Z3 shifts into reverse and spends 4 movement points per hex for 26cc3 to move away from the combat zone. Defensive fire phase. Stuart in 26Q3 fires on the Panzer in 26Z9 from 9 hexes away, taking 8 to hit, +1 for the buttoned up, +2 for the slow turret spin, +2 for sun blindness, -1 for the acquisition marker, -1 with a at 8 +4. 9 +4, it's a miss and Stuart loses rate of fire. Firing from 26Q3 on the Panzer in 26Z9, 11 hexes away with the basic number to hit of 8 +1 for buttoned up, the Panzer is outside the action of sun blindness. 7 +1, 8, the Panzer is hit in the hull, with A to kill number of 8, 11 to 3, and Stuart loses the rate of fire. 9 and the Panzer is immobilized. Stuart in 27Q2 fires on Panzer II from 12 hexes away with the base to hit number of 8 +1 for the buttoned up, -1 for the acquire marker. 4 and Panzer II is hit in the hull with A to kill number of 8, with Stuart losing rate of fire. 11, it's a miss. Shot from 28Q6 on the German tank at 28Z3, 9 hexes away, to hit of 8 +1 for buttoned up, +2 for sun blindness, -1 for the acquisition marker. 3. The Panzer is hit in the turret and Stuart maintains the rate of fire. The to kill number is 7, 11 -4 from the turret's frontal aspect. 7, and the German tank is shot. The same Stuart takes advantage of the rate of fire and fires at the Panzer in 28Z10 from 9 hexes away, needing 8 to hit the target, plus 1 for the buttoned up, plus 2 for the sun blindness. 11. It's a miss and Stuart loses rate of fire. The immobilized Stuart in 28Q5 attempts to shoot the shock Panzer in 28Z3. 2 hit of 8, plus 1, buttoned up, plus 2 for sun blindness, minus 1 for the acquisition marker. 12 and Stuart, in addition to being immobilized, has his main armament not working. Advancing fire phase. Panzer at 27P6 over Stuart at 28Q3, 7 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit plus 1 buttoned up, plus 2 advancing fire, plus 2 for the normal turret. 5 plus 5, 10, and the target is not hit, and the tank's rate of fire is not maintained as it is advancing fire. Panzer IV in 27 cubic meters turns his vehicle cover arc towards Stuart in 28Q3 to fire a shot 11 hexes away plus 1 buttoned up, plus 2 advancing fire, plus 2 from the normal turret, plus 2 from the turret rotation, plus 2 since the Panzer is in motion. 7 plus 7, 14, is a miss and the tank does not maintain the rate of fire as it is a shot fired in the advancing fire phase. Rout phase. The crew with broken morale moves in low crawl. Close combat. No actions. And here we end this first turn of the S35 Blazing Chariots scenario where Jim tested the strategy of advancing towards the German formation, ending his movement by stopping the Stuarts, who became true lame ducks at the mercy of German tank fire. With this movement they lost more than half of their force, 7 tanks, with 1 Stuart immobilized and with the cannon not working. In exchange for this, you only must display a German tank in shock. This was certainly not the best strategy, and we end the video at this point. In the next video we will try to use the strategy of not stopping the Stuarts, who must remain in motion in the first turn, advancing to break the German line at the beginning of the second turn, attacking the lateral and rear aspects of the panzers with bounding fire, avoiding the effect of sun blindness. Hello friends, we are back again to carry out a new simulation of the S35 Blazing Chariots scenario, this time using a more conservative strategy for the behavior of allied tanks which, similar to the previous episode, will initially run towards the west, but instead of stopping the Stuart tanks in column Q, they will end the movement in motion and will try to launch, whenever possible, smoke ammunition for protection. With these maneuvers, they will give up the possibility of effectively hitting the German tanks as they will have important modifiers against them, advancing fire +2, slow turret +2, buttoned up +1, plus result of the smallest die multiplied by 2, motion, +2 by sun blindness, +3 possibly by the presence of smoke. On the other hand, they will be protected by the +2 modifier for being a moving target plus the +2 modifier for the eventual smoke marker. With this, allies will try to maintain as many units as possible to advance towards the enemies at the beginning of the second round, shortening the distance to less than 6 hexes, a situation in which they will count on parity between the basic number to hit the target. 10. Same for panzers and Stuarts. Furthermore, they will make use of their numerical majority to break the German lines by attacking the panzers from the side and rear. Obviously, part of the result of these factors will be due to the omnipotent gods of data over which we will have no control. Let's get to the action. First, Stuart moves 17 hexes to Q9 where he tries to release smoke in this hex, smoke discharge 7. 5 and Stuart spends his last movement point to deposit the smoke marker on Q9 and the tank ends its movement in motion. Second, Stuart moves and in hex L7 suffers an attack from the panzer in Z8 14 hexes away with the base number to hit 8+2 due to Stuart being a moving target -1 for the armored leader. (3+1, 4). The Stuart is hit in the hull and the panzer maintains rate of fire. The modified to kill is 7, 11 to kill -4 of Stuart's armor, requiring at least 8 to affect Stuart. 11, it's a miss. New shot with the rate of fire, with 8 to hit +2, moving target, -1 for at least 1 acquisition, -1 for the leader. 6 and the tank is hit in the hull, and the panzer loses rate of fire. Base number to affect Stuart is 8. 9 is a miss. Stuart can continue moving until Q9 where he is attacked by the tank in Z8 9 hexes away, requiring 9+2, moving target, to hit Stuart. 8+2 10, the target is not hit, and the panzer loses the rate of fire. Stuart spends his last movement point to throw smoke at the hex, and ends his movement in motion. Third, Stuart advances using 17 movement points until Q10 where he tries to throw smoke into the hex. Two, the smoke is deposited, and Stuart closes the last movement point, ending the movement in motion. Fourth, Stuart moves to Q8 where he tries to throw smoke, without success, and spends the last movement point to move to R7, ending the movement in motion. Fifth, Panzer moves to Q7 where it is unable to release smoke and ends its movement in motion. Sixth, Stuart moves to I to spending 8 movement factors. In this hex it is attacked by the panzer in 28Z3, 17 hexes away, requiring 8 to hit to more, moving target. Seven plus 2, 9, the target is not hit, and the panzer loses the rate of fire. Stuart moves to 27Q3 where he smokes the hex and ends his movement in motion. 7th, Stuart moves to 27L2 where he is attacked by Panzer 4E using HE ammunition 14 hexes away, needing 8 to hit to more, moving target. 7 plus 2, 9, the target is not hit, and the panzer loses rate of fire. Stuart continues to 27Q4 where he is unable to release smoke and spends his last movement point to advance to 27R4. 8th Stuart advances to 26H9 where it is attacked by the Panzer in 28Z0, 18 hexes away, with base number to hit of 8 and +2 modifier, moving target. 7 + 2, 9, Stuart is not hit, and Panzer lose rate of fire. Stuart proceed to hex 27Q to where it places smoke and stop in motion. Ninth Stuart moves to 2806 where he is attacked 11 hexes away with 9 to hit +2, moving target, -1 by the German leader. 10 + 1, 11, the target is not hit, and the Panzer cannon loses its rate of fire. Stuart continues until 28Q7 where he unsuccessfully tries to launch smoke and continues until 28R7 once he is in motion. 10th Stuart moves to 28K3 where he is attacked from 26Z5 at 15 hexes, requiring 8 + 2, moving target. Ten + 2, 12, the target is not hit, the Panzer loses the rate of fire, and the Stuart can continue until 28Q7 where it launches smoke over the hex and ends in motion. 11th Stuart moves to Q4 where he tries to launch smoke without success and continues to 28R4 where he ends the movement in motion. Last Panzer moves to 27H8 where it is attacked by Panzer IV E16 hexes away, requiring 8 + 2 to hit the target. HE ammunition will be used. 3 + 2, 5, and Stuart is hit in the hull, and the Panzer maintains rate of fire. The modified TUC is 2, 6 - 4 shielding, requiring at least 3 to affect Stuart. 9, and the target is unaffected. Shooting using the rate of fire with 8 + 2, moving target, -1 for acquisition. 10 + 1, 11, the target is not hit, and the Panzer loses the rate of fire. Stuart continues to 28Q3 where he tries to throw smoke in this hex without success, ending the movement in motion. Defensive fire phase. No actions. Advancing fire phase. The Stuarts can attack the Panzers with a minimum chance of hitting, as we will have the modifiers +2, advancing fire, +2, slow turret, +1, buttoned up, plus the result of the die with the lowest number multiplied by 2, +2 for sun blindness and 3 more for shooting from smoke hexes. Assuming the best scenario, we will have the modifier of +2 if the lowest result of a die is 1, +2, advancing fire, +2, slow turret, +1, buttoned up, with a base number to hit the target of 7 or 6. There is a risk of the Stuart's cannons malfunctioning if the dice roll is 12. Jim reflected and chose to fire shots to mark the German tanks with the acquisition marker. 27Q10 over 27Z9 requiring 8 + 10. In fact, the shots will only be fired to assess whether the Stuart's cannons break. No cannons become malfunctioning, and Panzers are marked with the acquisition mark. Rally phase of the German phase of the first round. Rally phase. No actions. Prep fire phase. Panzer in 27Z10 fires at Stuart in 27R7 from 8 hexes away, requiring a base number of 9 to hit the target, +2 because the target is in motion. 4 + 2, 6. The Stuart is hit in the hull. Color die result equal to or greater than the white die result, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. With the modified tuck of 7, it will take 8 or less to affect Stuart. 6. And the Stuart is destroyed. Jim forgets to roll the dice to assess the survival of Stuart's crew, and this will be done later. The same Panzer will now fire on Stuart in 27Q7, at 9 hexes, needing 9 to hit to more because the target is in motion. Six + 2, 8. The target is hit in the turret, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. The modified to kill number is 7, requiring 8 or less to affect Stuart. 8 is a possible shock. In this case, a normal morale check is carried out on the crew of the Stuart, who have a morale of 8. 6. And the tank crew passes through and is unaffected by the fire. The Panzer will attempt a new shot with the modifier +2, motion, -1 for acquisition. 3 + 1, 4. Stuart is hit again in the turret, and the tank maintains rate of fire. It will take 8 or less to affect the target. 4 and Stuart is destroyed. The same Panzer will take advantage of the rate of fire and will rotate the turret to hit Stuart in hex 27R4, 9 hexes away. The basic number to achieve will be 9 with modifiers +2, motion, +1 for the turret rotation. 3 + 3, 6. Stuart is hit in the turret, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 10. It's a miss. New shot with modifier -1 for target acquisition. The modifier related to the rotation of the turret's covering arc is no longer computed, so we will have a shot of 9 + 1. 8 + 1, 9. The target is hit in the hull, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. 8. Possible shock, and the crew will be subjected to normal morale check. 5. The crew passes, and the shot has no effect. Panzer at 27Z0 fires at Stuart at 27R4 from 8 hexes away, requiring a roll of 9 to hit the target, with an additional 2 due to the target being in motion. 9 + 2, 11. The target is not hit, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. Panzer in 28Z3 fires on Stuart in 28Q7 from 9 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit the target +2, motion. 7 + 2, 9, and Stuart is hit in the turret, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 8. Possible shock, and the crew of the Stuart will be subjected to normal morale check. 5. And the crew passes, and the shot has no effect. New shot from the same Panzer with 9 + 2, motion, -1 acquisition. 4 + 1, 5. Stuart is hit in the turret with the Panzer maintaining rate of fire. 12 without effect. New shot with modifiers +2, motion, -2 for acquisition. 7. The Stuart is hit again in the turret, with the German tank maintaining its rate of fire. 3. And Stuart is destroyed. The Panzer now takes advantage of the rate of fire and fires on the Stuart in 28Q4 with a 9+2 motion shot. 3 + 2, 5, and Stuart is hit in the turret with the Panzer maintaining the rate of fire. 3 and there goes another Stuart. Finally, Jim remembers the crew survival dice roll and will start doing them now. The number to survive is 4 or less and no crew passes. Let's clean up the board a little by removing the acquisition markers from affected tanks. The same victorious Panzer will take advantage of the rate of fire and fire on Stuart in 28Q3. The shot will be 9+2, target in motion. 10, and the target is not hit with the tank losing rate of fire. The Panzer IV-E at 28Z6 attacks the Stuart at 28Q3, where it will attempt to utilize the scarce armor-piercing ammunition, depletion number of 7. The trigger will be 9+2, motion. 9 and with this result there is no armor-piercing ammunition for this tank. New shot with HE ammunition with a 9+2 shot. 5. The target is hit in the hull and the tank loses rate of fire. The to-kill number of the HE ammunition is only 6-4 of the Stuart's armor, requiring 3 or 2 to affect the target. 5 and Stuart doesn't get hit. Panzer in 28Z0 with a shot of 9+2, motion, -1 by the German leader. 6 + 1, 7. The Stuart is hit in the turret and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 11. It's a miss. New shot with modifiers +2, motion, -1 for leader, -1 for acquisition. 10. The target is not hit and the Panzer loses rate of fire. Panzer in 26Z5 fires on the Stuart in 28Q3 from 12 hexes away in a 9+2 motion shot, +1 for turning a hex angle. 11. The target is not hit. Movement phase. Panzer II in 27Z3 will attempt to launch smoke ammo over its hex, requiring 7 or less to succeed. 8. And the smoke launch fails. The tank starts, spending 1 movement point, and in reverse it spends 4 movement points to enter hex 27R3. In this hex, he suffers an attack from Stuart in 28R4. This shot from 9 hexes away, with a base number of hits of 8, +1, buttoned up, +4, motion, slow turret, +2 moving target that spent more than 3 movement points in Stuart's line of sight, +2 for sun blindness. This shot will not hit the Panzer, modifier +9, serving only to mark the German tank with the acquisition counter. The release of the dice in this situation will only be used to determine whether Stuart's cannon will malfunction with a result of 12. 8 + 9, 17, the Panzer is not hit. The -1 acquisition marker is deposited on the German tank and the Stuart loses the rate of fire. The Panzer continues its movement in reverse, ending its movement at 27 cc3 in motion. Panzer II in 26Z3 begins the movement and heads towards 2602 where it rotates the vehicle's covering arc towards the O3P2 axis, ending the movement in motion. Panzer IV-E starts moving and moves to 27P3, becoming buttoned up, spending 12 movement points. In this hex he suffers an attack from Stuart in 28Q3, who has to turn the turret by 2 angels to attack the Panzer, which is 10 hexes away with modifiers +1, buttoned up, +3 for turning the turret by 2 angels of the hex, +2 for being in motion. The die with the lowest value result must have its value multiplied by 2, +2 for the target being a moving target. Therefore, the shot will be 8 with the modifier of +8 added to the result of the die with the lowest value multiplied by 2. With the result of the lowest value of 2 times 2 = 4, we have the shot of 8 + 12. The Panzer is not hit. The -1 acquisition marker is placed on the German tank and the Stuart loses the rate of fire. The Panzer turns the cover arc towards the 2604P4 axis and stops moving using the last movement point to stop. Before ending the movement phase, all German tanks that had their crew exposed become buttoned up. Defensive fire phase. All Stuarts will perform attacks with high modifiers, +1 buttoned up, +2 motion. The result of the die with the least result must be multiplied by 2 due to the Stuarts being in motion, +2 sun blindness when applied, in addition to the plus modifiers 3 by smoke and acquisition modifiers. In general, there will be shots with a basic number of 8 to hit, with a minimum modifier of 3 more added with the result of the die with the lowest result multiplied by 2. These modifiers can hit up to 8 more with the result of the lowest value die multiplied by 2. In other words, the chances of hitting the Panzers are minimal and the roll of the dice will, in the overwhelming majority of cases, only serve to assess whether the Stuart's cannon becomes malfunctioning. All 8 remaining Stuarts fired, placed acquisition markers, and in no case did the guns fail to function. Advancing fire phase. Panzer IV-E fires on Stuart in 28Q3, over which it already had an acquisition of -2. The shot will take place 10 hexes away, +2 for advancing fire, +2 for being a normal turret, +1 for buttoned up, +2 for the target being in motion, -2 for acquisition, therefore a 9 + 5 attack. 11 + 5, 16, the target is not hit. With this last operation we ended this first round, which apparently had greater success in preserving the British forces, with 8 Stuarts in activity ready to attack the German line in the next round, leaving the sun blindness zone and attacking the Panzers from the lateral aspects. and rear from point-blank positions. Before moving on to the second round of this battle, we will also test another starting strategy, with the Stuarts attacking the Panzers at a long distance, greater than 25 hexes, where conditions become more balanced. Rally phase. No actions. Prep fire phase. Smoke markers are removed and no more activities occur in the prep fire phase. Movement phase. Stuart in 27Q8 moves towards German lines. Spends 7 movement points until 27W7 where he is attacked by the Panzer in 27W9, 3 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit the target with the modifiers +2, moving target, +1, buttoned up. That is, a shot of 10 +2. 3 +2, 5, and Stuart is hit in the turret and maintains the rate of fire. The German 50mm cannon has a base to kill of 11 against the armor factor of the Stuart turret's side face. The square turn the numeral 3 on the Stuart marker means a higher armor factor on the Stuart turret. The modified TUC number is 7, 11 minus 4, requiring a result of 8 or less to affect Stuart. 6, and the Stuart is destroyed. Jim doesn't stop being Jim and forgets to roll the dice to assess the survival of Stuart's crew. Stuart in 27Q10 moves to 27Y10, spending 8 movement points where he is attacked by the same Panzer using the rate of fire. At 1 hex distance the basic number to hit Stuart will be 10, +2, moving target, +1, buttoned up, +1, turning the turret by an angle, -2, point blank shooting. The shot will be 10 +2. Stuart is not hit with the Panzer losing rate of fire. Stuart continues his movement to 27R10, where he turns to Angels towards Stuart and spends 1 movement point to stop. In this hex you will shoot at the Panzer, using bounding fire. This Panzer rotates the turret towards the Stuart to fire the coaxial machine gun at the Stuart, which will have no effect as the Stuart has its crew buttoned up and the dice roll will only serve to check whether the machine gun becomes non-functional. Now it's Stuart's turn to act and he will shoot the Panzer. The shot is fired at close range, 1 hex away, requiring 10 to hit, +4, bounding fire with slow turret, +1, buttoned up, -2, shot at close range. Jim uses Stuart's -2 acquisition factor, which is absolutely wrong, as Stuart moved, losing the acquisition. Furthermore, shots fired as a bounding fire do not gain acquisition, which would be possible if the shot was fired in the next advancing fire phase. In any case, the result is 9, the target is not hitted and the acquisition marker should not be maintained. Stuart in 27Q9 moves to 27Y10, where he stops moving, spending 10 movement points. The turret marker that was mistakenly as crew exposed is corrected to buttoned up. In this hex, it suffers an attack from the Panzer in 27Z0, 10 hexes away, which requires 9 to hit the target, +2, moving target, +1, buttoned up, +1 for turning the turret for an angle, -1 by the armored leader. The shot will be 9 +3. It is worth remembering that the rec marker does not count as a modifier for to hit, as this marker was placed by the destruction of Stuart in this phase, and this rec is considered a moving target until the advancing fire phase, and cannot be used as a modifier for shots that cross this hex. 6 plus 3, 9. The Stuart is hit in the frontal aspect of the turret and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 8. Possible shock, and the Stuart crew must undergo a normal test check. The British crew's morale is 8, and if they do not pass the check test, this tank will be considered in shock. 8. The crew passes the check test, and nothing happens. New shot, using the rate of fire. Basic number to hit is 9, plus 2, moving target, plus 1, buttoned up, minus 1 for the German leader, minus 1 for acquiring the target. 8 plus 1, 9, and Stuart is hit in the turret, with the Panzer maintaining the rate of fire. 9. Stuart is not hit, and Jim mistakenly considers that the Panzer's rate of fire has been exhausted and, furthermore, does not rotate the aspect of the acquisition marker to face -2. Stuart proceeds to 27Z10 where he stops moving and launches a bounding first fire on the Panzer at 27Z9. The shot takes place 1 hex away, requiring 10 to hit with modifiers plus 4, bounding fire and slow turret, plus 1 buttoned up, -2 because the shot is at point blank range. 8 plus 3, 11, and the target is not hit. The Stuart continues to 27 BB9 where, after rotating the vehicle cover arc to axis 27A9 and A10, it ends the movement. Stuart at 27R4 moves to 27R2, spending 12 movement points. In this hex it suffers an attack from the Panzer in 28Z3 towards the side face of the Stuart 9 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit the Stuart, plus 2 by turning the turret into angels, plus 1 buttoned up, plus 2 moving target. 8 plus 5, 13, the target is not hit and the Panzer loses the rate of fire. The Panzer IIIH in 28Z0 fires at the Stuart from 12 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit the Stuart, plus 2, moving target, plus 1, buttoned up, plus 2 by turning the turret by 2 angels, -1 by German armored leader. 9 plus 6 shot. 5 plus 6, 11, the target is not hit, and the Panzer loses the rate of fire. The Stuart continues until 27cc1 where, after turning the vehicle axle towards 28 BB10 and cc10 the movement stops. In this hex you will use bounding first fire on the Panzer in 27Z0. 3 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit the Panzer, plus 4, bounding fire slow turret, plus 1, buttoned up. 8 plus 5, 13, the target is not hit, and Stuart loses the rate of fire. Jim makes a mistake again, and puts the acquisition marker on the Panzer. Stuart at 28Q6 moves towards German lines to 28A4. In this hex you will suffer an intensive fire from 28Z3, 1 hex away, with the modifiers of plus 2, intensive fire, plus 1, buttoned up, plus 2, moving target, -2, point blank shooting. Jim doesn't factor in the plus 2 modifier for solar blindness, hurting the British once again. 5 plus 3, 8, Stuart is hit in the side of the hull. The basic to kill is 11 minus 3, armor factor on the side of the hull, requiring 9 or less to affect the Stuart. 9. Possible shock, in which the Stuart crew will have to undergo a normal test check. 7. The Stuart crew passes by, and the shot has no effect. The Panzer in 28Z0 will fire its intensive fire 4 hexes away, requiring 9 more to hit the target, +2, intensive fire, +2, moving target, +1 buttoned up, -1 for the German leader. 7 + 4, 11, the target is not hit. Stuart rotates the vehicular coverage arc towards the Panzer, seizing movement where he will launch a bounding fire on the adjacent Panzer. 1 hex away, requiring 10 to hit the target, +4, bounding fire slow turret, +1, buttoned up, -2 because the shot is at close range, 1 hex away. 10 + 3, 13, the target is not hit. Stuart in 28Q3 moves towards the German lines. During movement, it modifies the turret's coverage arc, not incurring the expense of additional movement points. The Panzer acquisition markers track Stuart's movement. In Hex 28W2 it suffers an attack from Panzer IV 12 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit the target, +2, moving target, +1, buttoned up, -2 for the acquisition marker. It is important to remember that this Panzer has exhausted its armor-piercing ammunition and the basic number to kill with HE ammunition is only 6, with a low probability of affecting Stuart. 9 + 1, 10, and Stuart is not hit with the Panzer losing rate of fire. Stuart continues to 28Z to where he is attacked by the Panzer in 27Z5 7 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit Stuart, +2, moving target, +1 buttoned up. 7 + 3, 10, the target is not hit, and Stuart loses the rate of fire. Stuart continues to 28BB1 where he turns the vehicle cover arc, seizing movement and will attack the Panzer at 28Z0. The Panzer, realizing the Stuart's bad intentions, turns its vehicle cover and turret arc towards the Stuart to fire with the hull and coaxial machine guns. The shots are fired and the machine guns are not rendered inoperative. Stuart attacks from 2 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit the Panzer, +4, bounding fire slow turret, +1, buttoned up, -1 for being shot at close range, 2 hexes away. Again, Jim makes a mistake and places an acquisition marker on the attacked Panzer. 10 + 4, 14, the target is not hit, and Stuart loses the rate of fire. At this point, Jim makes a mistake and will allow a shot from the Panzer in 27Z6 on this Stuart. This attack could only happen in the next defensive fire phase because Stuart ended his movement and fired a shot. For this attack, the Panzer turns its turret towards the Stuart. The attack takes place 3 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit the target, +2, turret rotation, +2, moving target, +1 buttoned up. 3 + 5, 8, and Stuart is hit on the side of the turret, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. With the base to kill of 6, ammo, -4 of the Stuart's turret armor factor, it will take 3 or less to affect the Stuart. 7. Stuart is not affected. New shot using the rate of fire, with 10 to hit +2, moving target, +1, buttoned up, -1, acquisition. 5 + 2, 7, Stuart is hit in the turret, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 10. Stuart is not affected. New shot requiring 10 to affect, +2, moving target, +1, buttoned up, -2, acquisition. 9 + 1, 10, The Stuart is hit in the rear aspect of the hull, armor factor of 3, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. The to kill is 6-3. Stuart's hull side armor factor, requiring 4 or less to affect the Stuart. 9 and Stuart is unaffected. Stuart at 27Q4 moves to 27DD3 where he swings his cover arc to attack Panzer II. The Panzer turns its vehicular cover arc to attack the Stuart with its 20mm cannon, exposing the front face that has the thickest armor. This shot will require 10 to hit, plus 4, rotation of the vehicle coverage arc by 2 angels, plus 2, moving target, plus 1, buttoned up, plus the value of the die with the lowest value multiplied by 2, the Panzer is in motion, -2 for the point-blank shot. 6-6-12, and Panzer II's cannon becomes non-functional. Now it's Stuart's turn to attack the Panzer with bounding fire, plus 4, bounding fire slow turret, plus 1, buttoned up, plus 2, target is in motion, -2, point-blank shot. The recurring error of adding the acquisition marker happens. 1-1, critical hit, and the attack will be carried out with a double to kill of 22, and Panzer II is eliminated and Stuart maintains the rate of fire. The assessment to assess whether the Panzer crew survives the attack. 8 and the crew is eliminated. With this, the British hit their first victory and gained 5 victory points against Germans' 25 points. Stuart at 27Q2 moves to 27 arc to where he turns the cover arc towards the nearby Panzer and ceases movement. The Panzer carries out an attack against the Stuart with its coaxial and hull machine guns, turning its most heavily armored face, 6, towards the Stuart. The machine guns fire and remain operational. Now it's Stuart's turn to attack, needing 10 to hit the target, plus 2, bounding fire, plus 1, buttoned up, -1 for the point-blank shot, 2 hexes. 7 plus 2, 9, the Panzer is hit in the turret and Stuart maintains the rate of fire. Jim simply ignores the fact that the Panzer was hit and also for the rate of fire to remain and proceeds to the rally phase of the German phase of the second hit. Sorry about this. Rally phase. No actions. Prep fire phase. Panzer at 27Z9 fires at Stuart at 27A10, requiring 10 to hit the target, plus 1, buttoned up, -2. Point-blank shot, -1, acquisition. 5-2, 3. Stuart is hit in the hull, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. The basic to kill is 11, and the modified to kill is 7, 11-4 by the Stuart hull's frontal armor factor, with 8 or less required to affect the target. 6 and the Stuart is destroyed, and Jim forgets to roll the dice to assess the crew's survival. Jim will fire with the coaxial and hull machine guns on the Stuart in 27BB9, knowing that the Stuart will not be affected. This could be if the Stuart's crew was exposed, thus directing the face with greater armor towards the enemy. Panzer at 27Z0 will attack the Stuart at 27A2, 1 hex away, requiring 10 to hit the target, plus 1, buttoned up, -1 for the point-blank shot at 2 hexes away. 7. Stuart is hit in the hull, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. 5. And there goes one more Stuart, and Jim forget to roll the dice to assist the survival of the British crew. Panzer IVe fires on Stuart at 28A4 from 3 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit Stuart, +1, buttoned up, -2, acquisition. 4-1, 3. Stuart is hit in the side of the hull. 9, and Stuart is unaffected. New shot with the same modifiers. 9-1, 8. Stuart is hit again in the hull, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. These shots fired by Panzer IV will be fired with HE ammunition, with a reduced to kill of 6 and a modified to kill of 3, requiring 4 or less to affect Stuart. 7. Stuart is not affected. New shot taking advantage of the maintenance of the rate of fire with the same modifiers. 10-1, 9. Stuart is hit in the turret, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. 10 and the Panzer is not affected. Panzer in 27Z3 fires on the adjacent Stuart, taking 10 to hit, +1, buttoned up, -2, point blank shot from 1 hex away, -1 for acquisition. 3-2, 1, and Stuart is hit in the hull, with the Panzer maintaining rate of fire. The modified to hit is 7, requiring 8 or less to affect Stuart. 8. Possible shock, and Stuart's crew will undergo a normal test check. 3. And the crew passes and Stuart is unaffected. New shot taking advantage of the rate of fire, with modifiers +1, buttoned up, -2, acquisition, -2, point blank range. 7-3, 4. Stuart is hit in the hull, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. The modified to kill is 7, requiring 8 or less to affect Stuart. 7, and Stuart is immobilized. The Panzer makes a change in the vehicular coverage arc to attack the Stuart with the hull's machine gun, exposing the most heavily armored face towards the Stuart. Jim does not roll the dice to see if the machine gun becomes non-functional. Panzer fire at 27Z0 on Stuart at 27BB3 from 2 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit Stuart +1, buttoned up, -1, point blank range and hexes away, -1, German leader. 9-1, 8, and Stuart is hit in the hull. The Panzer loses the rate of fire. 6, 1 less Stuart on the face of the earth, and Jim does not assess the possibility of survival of the Stuart's crew. Panzer in 26Z5 rotates the turret's covering arc and fires a shot at the Stuart in 28A4 from 9 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit the target, +1, buttoned up, +1 for turning the turret by 1 angle. 6 and the turret is hit, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 9 + 2, 11, the target is not hit and the Panzer loses the rate of fire. Movement phase. Panzer IVe at 26P3 starts movement and moves to hex 26Z10. In this hex he tries to deposit a smoke marker, without success, and ends his movement in motion. Panzer II moves to hex 28N1 where it ends its movement in motion. Defensive fire phase. Stuart in 28A4 will fire a shot at the Panzer in the adjacent hex requiring 10 to hit, +1, buttoned up, -2, shot at close range, -1, acquisition. Bad result. Double 6, and in addition to the target not being hit, Stuart's cannon becomes non-functional. Stuart in 27cc1 fires on Panzer in 28Z0, requiring 10 to hit the enemy +1, Batenda, -1 for acquisition. 5, and the Panzer is hit in the turret, and Stuart maintains the rate of fire. The modified to kill will be 7, 11 original to kill -4 from the frontal aspect of the Panzer turret, and at least 8 will be needed to affect the Panzer. 4, and in great news, one of the best German Panzers is destroyed. When rolling the dice to determine whether the Panzer crew survives. 6, and the Panzer crew survives its destruction. With the destruction of the Panzer, the leader ceases to exist and is also eliminated from the board. Stuart will carry out an attack against the Panzer crew with machine guns, with 6 firepower and 1 more for the wreck. This shot should receive a modifier of -2 due to the fact that this crew was under the effect of hazardous movement during the destruction of the Panzer. 8 + 1, 9, no effect. Stuart in 28DD3 fires on Panzer IV in 26Z6 from 9 hexes away, taking 8 to hit the target, +1, Batenda. 8 + 1, 9, the Panzer is not hit and Stuart loses the rate of fire. This Stuart fires coaxial and hull machine guns at the crew in 27Z10 with 6 firepower +1, another attack that should be subject to the +2 modifier for hazardous movement. 6 + 1, 7, normal morale check. 4, the crew passes. Shot from Stuart in 26BB9 against Panzer in 26Z9, requiring 10 to hit the Panzer +1, Batenda, -1 for the point-blank shot from 1 hex away. 7, the Panzer is hit in the hull and Stuart loses rate of fire. 9, and the Panzer is unaffected. With this last attack we will end the clash. At this point German supremacy is clear, with 8 Stuarts eliminated, 40 victory points, in addition to leaving a 9th tank immobilized with a non-functional gun. Meanwhile, the British hit only 8 victory points, with the destruction of a Panzer II and a Panzer III, of which one of the crews survived. The morale of the British is low, and expectations are not good regarding the third term. However, this is the advanced squad leader, and anything can happen with trends changing from one moment to the next. Rally phase of the British phase of the third round. Attempt to restore the functionality of the broken Stuart cannon. 1 to recover, 6 to permanently break. 6, and the cannon definitely breaks. Since Jim doesn't have the permanent break marker, we'll put the dismantled marker. Prep fire phase. Stuart in BB9 will fire on the nearest Panzer with 10 to hit, +1, Batenda, -1, point-blank fire from 1 hex away. 3. The Panzer is hit in the turret and Stuart maintains the rate of fire. The to-kill of the Stuart's 37mm cannon to hexes away is 10, the Panzer's frontal armor factor is 4. To affect the Panzer, it will be needed 8, possible shock, or less. 3. The Panzer is destroyed and should have become a burning wreck, half of modified to kill. The survival number for Panzer III crew is 5. 7. A non-surviving crew. This same Stuart will attack the Panzer IV in hex 28Z6, 14 hexes away, requiring 7 to hit with modifiers +1, buttoned up, +2, impeded by Rex at 27R2 and 28Z10. Double 1 +3, 5, critical hit on the Panzer IV in the heart. In cases of critical hit, the to kill is double. In this case the attack will be 22, the Panzer is destroyed and Stuart maintains the rate of fire. 6 and the Panzer crew does not survive, and Stuart can carry out a new attack by maintaining the rate of fire. New shot, now against the Panzer in 28Z3, 17 hexes away, requiring 7 to hit the target, +1, buttoned up, +1 for preventing destruction in 27R2, +2 for being a smaller cannon than 47 mm, lighter projectile, therefore with a smaller penetration as the distance increases, -1 for being a very long cannon, LL, greater projectile speed, therefore greater penetration. Jim finally learned to consider the variables related to the cannon and the projectile. 8 +3, 11, the target is not hit, and Stuart loses his rate of fire. The acquisition marker -1 is placed on the attacked Panzer. Jim chose not to fire any more shots, and will approach the Panzers to try point-blank shots. Stuart in 27ZZ1 spends one movement point to start and another to rotate the vehicle cover arc to the BB-10, CC-10 axis. With these movements Stuart will suffer a hit from Panzer III in 28Z3. This Stuart is not yet considered a moving target, which would grant him the +2 protection modifier. This will occur 8 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit Stuart, +1, buttoned up, +1 for turning the turret by an angle of the hex. 5 +2, 7, Stuart is hit in the turret and the Panzer maintains its rate of fire. The modified to kill number is 7, requiring 8 or less to affect Stuart. 5 and this Stuart is destroyed. The crew of the Stuart did not survive the destruction of the tank with a result of 7. Stuart in 27DD3 begins movement and moves towards the German tanks. In 28Z8 it is attacked by the Panzer in 28Z3, 5 hexes away, requiring 10 to hit, +1, buttoned up, +2, moving target. 7 +3, 10, Stuart is hit in the hull and the Panzer loses its rate of fire. Modified to kill is 8, requiring 9 or less to affect Stuart. 9, possible shock, and the crew of the Stuart, morale of 8, must undergo a check test. If the shock happens, Stuart's movement will cease immediately and he will end his participation in this turn. 9, and Stuart is shocked. Panzer IIIH with the leader will fire a shot at Stuart from 8 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit, +1, buttoned up, +1 for the Panzer in 28Z3, -1 for the German leader. 8 +1, 8, the Stuart is hit in the hull and the Panzer loses its rate of fire. For some reason, Jim considers that the target was not hit, probably cause Jim considered Stuart as moving target with the +2 modifier, but this Stuart is in shock, and his movement ended immediately after the shock event. Rally phase of the German phase of the third round. Stuart shock assessment. Result 1 or 2, the tank recovers from the shock. 3 to 6, the shock marker is turned to the unconfirmed kill phase, with Stuart remaining inert until the rally phase of the next turn. 2, and the shock marker is removed. Let's move on to the prep fire phase. Panzer in 28Z3 fires on Stuart from 5 hexes away, taking 10 to hit, +1, buttoned up, -1, acquisition. 10. Stuart is hit in the hull with the Panzer losing rate of fire. Modified to kill is 8, requiring 9 or less to affect Stuart. 9. New test check on the crew to assess the possibility of Stuart's shock. 2. The crew passes. Panzer in 26Z10 fires on the same Stuart 8 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit the Stuart, +1, buttoned up, +1 for the Panzer's hindrance in 28ZZ3, -1 for the leader, -1 for the acquisition. 7. Stuart is hit in the hull, and the Panzer loses rate of fire. Modified to kill is 8. 4, and the Stuart is destroyed. 11, and the crew of the Stuart does not survive the destruction. To date, 10 Stuarts have been destroyed, with the Germans having accumulated a total of 50 desert victory points. The Germans still need to destroy one more Stuart to win this battle. Movement phase. Panzer at 26Z5 will advance towards the immobilized Stuart. At 28FF0 the Panzer stops and fires a bounding fire at Stuart at 27 BB9, 21 hexes away, requiring 7 to hit the target, +1, buttoned up, +1 by the Panzer at 28 CC3, +4, bounding fire normal turret, plus the result of the smaller die multiplied by 2, +1, cannon smaller than 57 mm, +1 for the shot being fired by a non-long cannon. Therefore, it will be a 7+8 shot, in addition to the result with the lowest value on the dice multiplied by 2, that is, an impossible shot that will also not allow the acquisition marker to be placed on Stuart. 9. The target is not hit as expected. Panzer IV in 28Z1 moves to 28N6 where it ends its activity in motion. Panzer II moves to 27N2 where it also stops moving in motion. Defensive fire phase. Jim chooses not to fire with the remaining working Stuart. As nothing else happens this round, let's move on to the rally phase of the British phase of the fourth round. No actions in the rally phase and prep fire phase, and we are heading towards the movement phase. The last working Stuart will move towards the Panzers. Stuart moves up to 28Z9, using 14 movement factors. In this hex will suffer an attack from the Panzer in 28FF10, 12 hexes away, requiring 9 to hit Stuart, +1, buttoned up, +1 from the wreckage in 28Z8, +2 moving target. 5 + 4, 9, Stuart is hit in the hull, and the Panzer maintains the rate of fire. 4. The Stuart is destroyed. 4. And the crew of the Stuart survives the destruction. At this point, the continuation of this battle becomes meaningless, as the Germans have won 53 of the 55 points necessary for victory, and the only remaining British tank is immobilized and its cannon is definitively damaged. Let's close this episode, where some failures were recurrent, such as performing target acquisition during the bounding fire, not placing blazing red markers in the appropriate cases with the impact on the line of sight in the scenario, among other failures. But in the ASL system, that's exactly what it is. Mistakes happen frequently, and only insistence and constant reading of the rules will minimize these mistakes. For the next desert scenario, Jim will venture into scenario S39, turning the table, where a few more variables related specifically or not to desert conditions will be used. Among these variables are the presence of dust, stukas, high dune terrain and hillocks, among others. See you soon. Namaste.